Hey, Eli here. Today I want to talk to you about SD cards, CFexpress Type B, and a little bit about solid state drives. This video is inspired by Lexar sending me some products. They sent me two memory cards, a CFexpress Type B for my R5s, and then a Silver Pro, one of their new lines of kind of everyday working cards. So what I did is I wanted to compare them to the cards that I'm currently using. Every few years, I try and eliminate cards that are in my stock by either selling them with cameras or just putting them aside and stuffing them in camera bags for emergencies. But yeah, I think about every 3 years, I start to wonder if a card's going to last, and I don't trust it as much. So the way cards work for me is like my main cards kind of stick in slot 1, and my secondary cards in slot B are backups. And so my newer cards will just work their way down into the line where they just disappear. So I've been getting to a point where I've been shooting a ton lately. I've had second shooters, and then I've been using up to 4 cameras, so I need a lot of memory cards. So I started doing some research, and I'm just lucky that Lexar reached out to me while I was doing that. I went and purchased some cards from OWC, and so in this video, I'm just going to run through and show you some tests that I did. Just a quick synopsis: the CFexpress Type B from Lexar did awesome. It beat out the OWC. I think this is the Atlas Pro, and then Angelbird for my R5s. I just did tests through Aja. AJA is the software that I used. I did 5 tests, and yeah, compared them all and averaged them. And then also on the SD line, price point to speed, Lexar did great. I was really impressed. And so I'm going to put all these stats that I'm going to show you today in a web page linked inside the description. You can check it out. But yeah, so just a quick synopsis. Lexar, awesome option. Check them out. OWC was the ones that I purchased. And again, Lexar beat them out other than their Pro line from OWC, which is very expensive. But yeah, so just start from the top. We'll go into SD cards. I've got the Lexar Silver Pro line. I've got the Atlas Pro from OWC, the Atlas Ultra from OWC, which I only purchased to use in my GFX 100S because I was getting some lag, and it cleared up the lag a little bit, but for the price, probably not worth it. Very, very expensive. I think it was like $229 for a 256. And then I always started out with a SanDisk. That's what I've always used. And then I went to Sony Tough when they came out. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And so I've got a lot of Sony Tough cards. I've got one in each camera right now, 2 R5s. Hopefully they hold up and don't overheat. And then, yeah, so I did the tests and averaged 5 tests on Aja, read and write. And I'm just going to go through the stats really quick for you. The averages, you're going to want to look at the website for these descriptions because it's super boring, but just let you know, this was one of the faster budget cards. I'm going to say budget, like not $229. This card goes for $99 for a 512, and then it is $59 for a 256, which blows my mind. It's like, if you've been in the industry as long as I have, it's so cheap. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's amazing that we're in a time where we can buy fast cards that are cheap. Overall, I did find that the read and write speeds on the cards were, not, I mean, they were maybe possibly, but like the speeds I was getting were just a little low what the read and write speeds are. So I never go off that. I try and test them in the software just to see what I'm actually going to get. And just a little theory on this is, I don't really care so much about write. I care more about read because most of these cards that I use, over 150 megabytes, 120 megabytes a second write, I don't have any issues. The buffers are so great for the R5, R6 II. GFX 100S is a whole other deal. It's such big files. But yeah, so I didn't really have any issues. These cards here, these old SanDisk, do lag in my R5, but anything else, no problems. But we'll just run through the speeds really quick. This card was 269 average read and 237 average write, which is great. It's pretty fast. Out of an SD card, I couldn't ask for more, and probably don't need more. This card here, the Atlas Pro, these are V60 cards, and so you've got V30, V60, and V90. V90 is going to be your high-end stuff that you're probably going to use for video when you don't have a CFexpress Type B slot. So this card was 244 megabytes a second read and 129 write. Again, that's an average of 5. And then the Screamin' card here was 277 read, 188 write. So I'm only getting like 30 to 40 megabytes increase on the right side. I did notice it in the GFX 100S a little bit. I could take some more photos before it started to buffer, but then it would just continue to take a photo instead of just stopping, which was nice. You know, maybe it was a photo a second, but it, you know, it helps on a wedding day. And then these cards that I have a ton of, these are V60 cards, and they were 268 read and 100 write on average. So all of these read about the same. You max out with SD cards, I think at 299 on, you know, what you're going to see on a card. But that's still, I mean, for me, I don't mind waiting. I have a bunch of SD readers now, so not a problem. And then these old SanDisks, it's obvious, they're V30s, 169 read, 88 write on the megabytes per second. And so looking at price points, I don't even know what these things cost anymore. You can probably find them somewhere. They're probably super cheap. Maybe buy them if they're not heavily used and stuff them somewhere as backups, but you know, I wouldn't recommend them. And then the Sony Tough, these things were, they're on sale for 114 for a 256. So they do cost more already than this Lexar, which is crazy. And then, yeah, a 59 versus 114. That doesn't make sense to me. Maybe they're saying these cards are tougher, but when I look at them, I can't tell the material so much. The lower end OWC ones, maybe it's just the sticker. It's just a cheap sticker. That bothers me, but yeah, the sticker's a little nicer on the rest of these, which is irrelevant. But yeah, so anyway, my picks out of these are the OWC and the Silver Pro Lexar. They did send this to me, but you know, it was slightly faster than that OWC. Prices are about the same. You've got $54 for the OWC and $59, and those are going to vary, you know, depending on sales and where you buy them. But yeah, so Lexar did awesome. OWC did pretty good too. Again, this card is super fast, but it is not cheap. 229 bucks. So I just went on a limb, tried it, and that'll be my GFX card dedicated to the GFX. But yeah, so that's enough about SD cards. I recommend not keeping them too long. I think the biggest fail points are these metal contacts, taking them in and out. Just be careful, you know, putting them in and out. Don't do it as more than you have to, and then just be gentle with them, because if you want these to last 3+ years or up to 3 years, you got to take care of them and try not to drop them. It happens. But yeah, so I want to make this video as short as I can. Next up will be the CFexpress Type B cards. And originally I use these as backups only. I don't really take them out of the camera, and then I use them for video because I've had SD cards kind of just crap out. You know, they just stop working, or I don't know why that is, but maybe they don't write fast enough for 4K. I'm not a video guy. I just do these talking head videos for the most part. Angelbird is what I always used, and it's the cheapest. It's $109. It was the slowest. OWC is going to be the most expensive by $10. $169, $109 for the Angelbird. The Alice Pro was a little inconsistent. I'm putting in all 5 readouts too for you in the data, so you can see some of these are more consistent. Like some of them were just the same number over and over on the read, like very consistent. I don't know what that means, but I mean, I would guess it's a positive that it's consistent. And then the Lexar was the fastest all around. So, and this one is 159, 169 as of now. This is in September 2023, and this card is 114. This card's been around the longest, and Angelbird, these companies do have higher end cards, but these are kind of their mid-grade, 1700-ish stated megabytes per second, but I didn't get those speeds. So from the top, Lexar got 832 read, 870 write on an average. These are all 512s. The OWC was at 648 on a read, and then the write was only 369, and that was kind of interesting to me. You know, again, I don't use these cards to their full potential, but they're my internal backups that I try not to take out ever, and I just shoot JPEG to these on my R5s. And then the Angelbird was read 456 megabytes, write 793. So quite a range there. The Lexar beat them all. at a consistent over 800 on read and write, which was awesome. Go for Lexar. It's cool. They sent these to me. I get to use them now, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, so that's just a quick video on my recommendations for memory cards. Take care of your SD cards. They're a little more fragile than these CFexpress Type Bs. I just feel like these are stout and these are going to stand the test of time, but they are a lot more expensive. So that's why I'm still using SD cards as all my raw files, and I can just plug them into my computer, which is pretty sweet. These I have to use a card reader, which I have a lot of now, but it's just more of an inconvenience when you're traveling. Yeah. And then these cards are all different sizes. I don't think that matters so much when you're doing read and write tests, but 256 is probably my favorite size for SD cards. It allows me to shoot a full wedding day on one camera, and then I can set it aside, and I don't clear these things till I'm done editing. So I'm about a week turnaround on editing, but there are times when I get a little bit, you know, I'm juggling cards when I have 4 or 5 shoots in a week, and so I really don't like clearing cards. So that's why I've been purchasing more cards, just so I can set them aside, edit the project, deliver it, upload the images, and then be done. So, and then last but not least, I still use external SSDs for editing. So I have a huge 8 terabyte hard drive on my MacBook Pro, which writes and reads at like almost 6,000 megabytes per second, which is absurd. I think they're even getting faster, which is nuts. Just for reference, your standard hard drive is like mine, I just tested, was 153, 164. My rate I use is around 450 read and write. And yeah, so I tested this. I've got the results here. The reason I use, external hard drives is because I still edit from Smart Previews, because I'm using 45 megapixel photos from the R5, as well as 100 megapixel photos from the GFX. And you can set Lightroom to just read the Smart Previews, but once you zoom, it's still going to default to the raw image and try and load it. And so it prevents me from, you know, even when I do zoom, I can edit way faster, because when I zoom, that just lags, slows me down. And so I generally will retouch edited JPEGs to speed that process up. But yeah, so this SSD they sent me is a screaming deal. It comes with a 64 gigabyte, you know, little drive, you know, call it micro USB or USB drive, and then cable, and then it's hitting 928 and 900 on the read and write. So it's really fast, and it's small, it's compact. I've been using portable drives for years, just for, you know, quick projects. So basically my process is I sort my images, I put them on here, I create Smart Previews, I edit, and then the raw files stay on here. I unplug it, that way I can't read the files. And then, yeah, so this is what I'll be using from now on. What I've been using over the years is I have an old, I think it's not old, it's a G drive. I think I paid like $800 for this thing. This thing's 74 bucks. Let me check that. Right now at Costco, it's $74, and you get the little USB drive. It's just insane. This does read and write at 2000. It writes at 2000, reads at 2600, but I don't need that speed for what I'm using this for. This was just a very safe backup because I didn't want a small spinning drive. These are more reliable. But yeah, this is, I mean, I'm going to buy some more of these myself. This one was given to me, but I'm going to go buy some more for personal stuff, as well as any, you know, if I get backed up on projects. It's just such a screaming deal. One thing I always do is I do have every portable drive, everything that I have is backed up. I don't back up online because my upload speeds are so slow, but I have multiple hard drives. Right under this desk, I've got about 10 to 15 hard drives. Mainly I use a RAID from OWC, a 4-bay RAID, and these get backed up every day to that RAID. So everything I put on here gets backed up. So never trust a hard drive or an SD card. Always have a backup. But yeah, screaming deal. This thing's awesome. It's fast. It's tiny. Also, never travel with these plugged in. These are pretty tough, these enclosures, but over time, if you travel with this in here and you want to keep it for a while, this will start to mess with the port. I've had it happen where it's ruined the port here, and I had to pull the hard drive apart, pull the hard drive out and put it in another enclosure to get my information off. So I never know how tough these are made. So just never travel with these. And then another fun tidbit I'm going to leave you with is other than Carbon Copy Cloner, I recommend that software. It copies whatever you want. It's $49 one time. It copies this hard drive to any folder or anywhere you want. So I have multiple backups set up. But yeah, and this here being a really fast hard drive, my tip is to take all of your Thunderbolt drives or cables and put some sort of color coding on them so that you know, because I can't plug this in with this cable, USB-C cable. So but yeah, hopefully it's helpful. If you would, in the comments, to tell everyone your favorite SD or CF card or portable hard drive, and just drop it in there and why you've used it. I mainly use whatever I feel I can trust and is budget friendly because I'll buy multiple SD cards. And then the CFexpress, when they first came out, they weren't cheap, and so Angelbird was probably the first one to the market to make an affordable card, and so that's why I have them. And then I've always used OWC for my backups, so I wanted to see what they could offer. And so yeah, in the description, write that down, and then go to the webpage for these stats, just in the link in the description. Just click on my website. I'll have a page dedicated to just boring stats. So thanks for watching, and thanks for all the comments. It's been fun to chat with people, other photographers, and see what you like for gear and all that. So have a great day.